Hello, and welcome to the Drive Registration System training for the local health departments. In order to be able to access Drive, you will need to register as a user through the Access Indiana site by going to www.in.gov/access. Access Indiana is a site where you will use a single sign-on and be able to access Drive, as well as many of the other state websites, such as the BMV, DNR, the Indiana Department of Revenue, and so on. Follow the instructions on how to sign up for an account, and once registered, this will be the way you will access the Drive system. When you log into Access Indiana portal, you will see the main page or dashboard as it is referenced. There will be an icon on the dashboard titled Drive for you to click on to be taken to the Drive homepage. You will be able to bookmark the Drive site as well as any other most commonly used sites for quicker navigation to them. There's a few other key points I'd like to mention before beginning the training. The state file number and local file numbers will be assigned concurrently. This means that no longer will the LHDs or the Indiana Department of Health have to run a batching process to complete the registration of records. They will be registered instantly once completed, approved, and affirmed, thus speeding up the processing time so registration is more timely and that certified copies of records can be provided as needed. Birth records entered from hospitals or birthing facilities that will not require a paternity affidavit to be done will automatically register. Birth records that will have paternity affidavits associated with them will be in queues for the local health departments to approve and affirm them before the registration is complete. All death records that are entered into Drive will also go to queues for the LHDs to review, approve, and affirm for the completion of records or of registration. The coroner will be able to complete both the legal or demographic information as well as the medical portion of the record, as there is sometimes a need for the coroner to handle an entire case from start to finish. The funeral homes and medical certifiers will be able to work on a record in the system at the same time. No longer will the funeral home need to start the record, assign it to the medical certifier, wait for it to come back to them to review before sending it on to the local health department. However, they will both need to make sure they're completing their portions before the record can be fully registered. Items can be attached directly to records. The paternity affidavits that are done by the hospitals will now be uploaded and attached to the record, where the local health department can then review them for the approval and affirmation processes. Other documents needed for amendments or any other document that a user feels is important, such as a lab report, worksheet, cremation waiver, etc., can be attached. Anyone who has access to that particular record would then be able to see those documents. Notifications will be sent and received when changes are made or if action is needed to records in which one is affiliated. The notifications will go to the external email address that the user sets up on their profile, and there is also a message component to Drive that displays all messages associated with your user ID. You can access messages directly from the homepage, as well as when within a record. Local health departments will also receive notifications if a special status is entered or if a modification has been made to a record. These features will be demonstrated to you in the training. And lastly, the Drive system will allow the ability for each local health department to search the entire state database for records. You will no longer need to contact the Indiana Department of Health to find out where a person was born or where they passed away. You will be able to search that for yourselves. You will only have read-only rights to the records outside of your own county, but Drive will enable you to direct your customers to the correct county of record. So let's begin. When you click on the Drive icon from Access Indiana, you will be taken to this homepage. For many users that are associated with multiple facilities, they would first get a page to select the particular facility that the event took place, and once they select that, then this homepage will display. At the top of the page, you will notice is a user ID, as well as the facility that that user is affiliated with. You also have a logout button over here to the right. The next line is your menu bar, and you'll notice there's several menus, and depending on the permissions a person has, is what menus will be displayed. Under the main menu, you will see the Home user profile, messages, current activities, and another logout button. You can choose to log out by selecting it from the drop-down, or you can simply go up and click the logout button at the top. Under the main menu, if you click on your messages, your message page will display. You'll notice it'll say who it came from, the subject of the message. It displays the detail of the message and the date and the time sent. If you look through there, there's various reasons and various processes that are being shown. And it will tell you when an amendment is approved or if something needs affirmed by the local health department. Most cases, you'll be able to access the record directly by selecting the name that's within the details of the message. Under the order processing menu, you will most likely only use the news selection, which will be what is used to search for the records that are in other counties that are outside of your own. The rest of the menu items have to do with the issuance and the accounting module of the system and would only be used by those who would be utilizing it in place of any current local systems being used. At this time, I don't believe any of the local health departments have chosen to do that. However, it is built into the system for when there comes a time that a local health department would like to start using it. The Life Events menu is what you will be using to search, locate cases, and start and edit new cases. The search and locate case are similar to each other. However, the locate case is used for those that are locating cases that they've actually created or had a hand in the certification process. As a health department, you're only going to have that locate case function under the birth module as you will be completing home births. If you look under the search function, you're going to see multiple amounts of fields that can be filled in to refine your search. You can search using one side of the information, as far as by the identifier information, or you can search by the registrant information on the side, or you can select a little bit from both and do your search with all the information that's filled in. If you notice down here at the bottom, you've got some buttons. The search is just your basic search. The SoundX button, if you entered a name in one of these fields and you weren't quite sure how to spell it, the SoundX button, by clicking that, would search the entire database for any name that sounds like what you have entered. If you look over here, anytime you see a date field, you will see the format that the drive system requires beneath that field. It displays it as a 3-letter month, 2-digit day, and 4-digit year with your dashes in between. You can either enter the date in that format, or if you enter a format that is recognized as a valid date format and hit tab, it will convert it into the format that the drive system uses. Each of the date field areas will have a calendar icon that you can select, and you can also select the date using that. Or if those of you that have function keys to your computer systems that you use, if you're looking for the current date that you are actually on, you can hit F12 and it will insert the current date. The swap name function, if you were to enter a first name and a last name, it would search the database not only in that particular order, but it would also swap them around and search for the last name as the first name and the first name as the last name. Your clear button would technically clear out anything that you have entered in the fields on the page. Your locate case, in looking at that, you're going to see there's a lot less fields to refine your search, but it functions the same way as you would enter the information that you're looking for, and you could click search, SoundX, or clear if you needed to put different information in the fields. Going back up to your menu bar, the queues menu is where you're going to find the records that need some type of action taken on them. You'll have your registration work queues, and you'll also have amendment work queues. Your registration work queues is where you are going to be going to view the queues that are listed in the system. The queues are created once a record is in there that needs any certain type of action taken. So as you can see, there's several different queues in here that could apply to what you're looking at. When you see the queues legal pending and medical pending, those mean that those are records that are in the registration process, but it's waiting for either the funeral home to complete or the medical certifier to complete. So you're able to track those as the registration process goes along on a record. You'll notice you'll have the queue name, the type of queue, and the count, and the age of the oldest in days. You will have two queues under each, the birth and death, that apply to the local health department affirmation and approval process. Under the birth, you will have registration approval required for PAs, and you'll have the local registrar affirmation required queue. Under death, you will have local registration approval required and local affirmation required. Those will be the queues that you will be using that is in place of your PA review queue and your local acceptance queue that the Genesis system currently uses. Going back to the queues, your amendment queue, you have the same type of information. Under the keyed requires affirmation, in regards to death records, you will not be approving or you will not be affirming any type of amendments that are going to be going through the system. So if you notice under the work queues, you have two work queue summary. They're basically the same thing, just a different way of getting to them. The amendment work queue brings up more of a refined search way of going to find the record, or if you go into the summary, it brings those queues up in a list. The accounting menu, that's in relation to those that are going to take on the issuance and accounting module of the system, so those would apply to that. Your reports menu have several reports in them. If you don't see one that you need, please submit a request, as there's many that are available. And there may already be one set up for you for what you need, or there might be a way to create one. You will notice that within these records, you have your unresolved record list reports. Your forms menu will have any fillable print forms in it. You will also have a print forms option within each individual record that will bring up many more forms, such as your PA forms and your birth certificates and your birth certificate abstracts. Under the administration menu, the jobs category is where you're going to schedule jobs for any bulk print jobs, such as your birth notification letters or any extracts. And then you have a help button. So going back to the main page, down below, if you notice, you have what's called fast links. Fast links are created once you have started accessing certain modules from each one of the menus. And what the fast links do is it's just a quick navigation to those particular items without having to go into each individual menu and choosing from a drop-down. So as you notice under main, you have messages that I displayed earlier. You can also just go to the fast link and click on it, and it brings up that same message page. Under the fast links too, as it refreshes, you will notice that you will have a number up in the corner that tells you how many new messages are in there. And if you notice over here in the queues, it will also tell you how many are in there. So going back to the life events and the search, we're back to the search page where we can enter a multitude of information to conduct the search. Remember, the more information that you put into it, the quicker your search is going to be. If you put in too vague of information or just say the last name of Smith, you will create a lengthy search that will drag the system down, and it's quite possible that that system will time out on you and you won't get any search results. I'm going to enter a date range, which it allows you to put in a beginning and an ending date under both the date of death and the date of birth. And I'm going to F12 for today's date. And I will click search. So when you conduct your search page displays, gives you the case ID, the state file number if it's been registered, the decedent's name, in this case, since we're under the death module. You've got your date of the event, the sex, the place of death, and the date of birth that coincides with that death. You also have a preview link. In front of the line, you may have an icon, and what this indicates is there's a comment that was left on the record. So when you go into the record, there will be an area where you'll be able to select and view what that comment is. Your case ID is just an electronic number that's assigned within the system, so that replaces the electronic death record or electronic birth record that the current system assigns. And obviously the rest explains itself. You also have this preview at the very end of the line. You can click on preview, and what that does will display part of that record down below. So if you had done a search and it brought up several different people with that same name, you would be able to preview each one of them to decide what record is the one you're actually wanting to access. And then you would simply click select, or you can click on the name. So in this case, I'm going to click on a record, and this is what you're going to see. Up at the top, you've got your case ID number. You'll have the state file number if it's been registered. You've got the name of the record, the date of the event, and then if any amendment exists, you're going to have that to the side. Beneath that is a status bar or a status stream, and with that it tells you that the record is valid, it's registered, it's signed, it's certified, and has been filed with the local registrar. When you first begin a record, this status will read completely different. That changes as you progress throughout the record, and I will demonstrate that when I walk you through a home birth from start to finish. These two lines will remain at the top of the page throughout the entire record, as will the page links, which are off here to the side. So as you go through the record, you're going to be jumping from each one of these page links. You also have some additional links that go along with some of the things that can be done within the record, and I will describe those to you later. At the bottom of the page, you will have these buttons: Validate button, the Next, Clear, Save, and Return. The Validate Page button, what that does is it will run an edit check of the record to validate that all the fields are properly completed. Once this is clicked, the status bar will change from its original status to where it is within the system once you click that Validate page. It will also display indicators next to each one of the pages here A green check mark indicator would mean that that page passed the edit check. A red X means that's a hard edit rule failure. You will need to go and fix the fields that apply to that failure before being able to register the record. A yellow circle means there's what's called a soft edit rule failure. Those pages would have information on them that, although might be required, it will allow you to override the edit rule failure and allow the record to be registered. It will, however, give a status as valid with exceptions. When the validation is run, it will also highlight the field that is specific to the edit failure. So if you have a red X, you're going to have that field highlighted in red. And if you have a yellow circle, you're going to have that field highlighted in yellow. Once you correct the information and you revalidate the page, those colors will disappear and you will soon get a green check mark as long as everything was corrected. Also, by validating a page, below that, it will display the actual failure and how you can override or how you can fix it. And I will explain that to you when going through the home birth record. Your next button will save the page that you're on, and it will advance you to the next page of the record. It does not, however, conduct an edit check. Your clear button will clear out any information that you type in after the last save. So if you've typed in some information and say you got called away and you had to get out of the record, so you would click save, it would save your record and you would go back in, you would access it, and you'd go back in and type some information on there that maybe wasn't the right information. You would just simply have to click the clear button and it would clear out that information that you typed, but it would retain all the information that had already been saved. Your save button obviously will save the page that you're on, but it will not advance you to the next page and it will not conduct any edit rule. And your return button simply takes you back to the page that you were on previously. So now that you see what a basic record looks like, we will go through some individual pages just to give you a little idea of what things look like. And now that you've seen a little bit of that record, I'm going to explain to you your process in reviewing, approving, and affirming the record in order to complete the registration. So you're going to go to Queues, and you're going to go to Registration Work Queue or Work Queue Summary. I find it easier to go through the summary to where you can visually see all the records all the queues right there on one page. And you're going to look under Death, Type, and go over to the local registration approval required. You're going to see where a list of names come up, a list of records come up that are needing that approval required. However, not all of the records that are in here are going to be ready for the approval process. It's possible that they may still have medical information or demographic information that still needs to be completed. But you can go into them and you can review them and see where they're at in the process. So in this case, I'm going to select my record, and you can either select it by case ID or you can select it by the name. And it pulls up the completed record from the funeral home and the medical certifier. So if you notice, we have personal valid, which means all of the personal information passed the edit rule checks. The medical is valid, so the medical information passed. It's not registered, however, it's been signed by the funeral director, certified by your medical certifier. And if you notice over here, this pulls this from your queues. So these are your queue information. So this record needs the local affirmation, and it also needs the local registration approval. When you select the record and you come to the first page, the very first thing you need to do prior to approving this record is you must click on the disposition page. And in checking the disposition page, you can see where the information has been filled out, and you can scroll down and you can see where the local health department information and who it was approved by at the local level is filled in. You can view each individual page to verify all the information, or if it's preferred and if it's easier, you can go over to the print forms, click on print forms, and then click on Death CC Abstract. It will generate a message or generate a PDF that you can open. And it gives you an abstract of what the death certificate is going to look like. So if it's easier to review it all this way, then you can do that. You'll close your PDF. And since we've reviewed it, we're now going to go through the acceptance process. So you're going to click on this Accept for Filing. And you'll see the page pulls up, and under the personal information and medical information, you have a drop-down box. When you click on that, it gives you the availability to either accept or reject the record. If you reject the record, what it's going to do once it's saved is it's going to notify the person in question. So whether it be demographic information or medical information, it will send a notification to that user alerting them that there is a record that needs their attention, so they can go in, they can access the record, and they can fix what needs to be fixed, and then just re-sign it or recertify it, and it will be back in your queue. You'll notice down below that you do have a preview of the record. If you reject the record, it will also open up this box below that you can type in the specific information of why you're rejecting it. You can also reject one piece of the record but accept another. And it will notify each one of those users that their portion has either been accepted or rejected. So in this case, I'm going to accept both portions of the record, both the personal and the medical information, and I'm going to click Save. Now I want you to watch not only the status bar, but also this link, Accept for Filing. Once I click Save, you'll get a pop-up that tells you it's successfully saved. Now we have the local registrar affirm page link to click, and our status changed to just local affirmation required. So from here, you're going to click Local Registrar Affirm, and you'll see a empty box next to the affirmation statement. You're going to click that box, and it'll insert a check mark, and then click the word Affirm. And you will receive a pop-up asking if you want to print the death certificate. So here's your option and your opportunity to go ahead and print the final certified death certificate by opening up your PDF. And depending on your internet speed or whether you're working off of Wi-Fi is how quickly your PDFs will generate and appear. And there's your final product of your death certificate that you can go ahead and print for your customer. If you notice now at the top of the record, we've now got the case ID and the state file number because now it is registered. You'll see under the status, everything is valid. It is now registered, signed, certified, and has been filed at the local registrar. You can then click on your identifier link under the registrar page information, and it takes you to the page that tells you it was an electronic record, gives you the state file number and file date, and if you scroll down, it gives the local health officer information, as well as the local file number. If you had any disinter, reinter, or any kind of birth linkage information, that would also be indicated down below. Going back into your queues, I explained the work queue summary here and how to accept this record. When you notice you have your amendment work queues and work queue summary, as mentioned, you will have this keyed requires affirmation. You will not be approving any amendments that are made by either the funeral home or the medical certifier. Once they make their amendments, it automatically approves, and you will get a notification that will indicate that that amendment has been made. And that will be able to give you the information that you can go ahead and reprint certificates if needed. So there is no action that you need to take. Please ignore this queue. The drive system cannot allow this queue to be hidden under the death module as it's needed in the birth module. So I'm going to go back into my record, and I'm going to address some of these other links and give you the information on how to go about doing some of the functions within those links. You have an amendment list and amendments. They are basically the same thing. An amendment list, if there have been any amendments done to this record, would be displayed in a grid here. You can also go and access a new amendment from the amendment list. Or you can simply click amendments and it gives you the amendment page. I'm going to show you how to do amendments when we get to the birth module, as I will do a home birth and then we'll go back in and we'll do an amendment. I'm going to click my return button and you'll see it takes me back to the prior screen. The assigned status page will be for any special statuses that may have been assigned to this record. So if there's a do not issue status or a hold for some reason, you're going to see that displayed here in a grid. The attachment link, this is where you're going to find any attachments that are on the record. So in a death record, you might find the cremation waiver, or you will find the burial transit permit, as that is remaining paper-based. What they will be doing is turning in the burial transit permit to the local health departments, or they possibly may be going ahead and uploading and attaching it prior to turning it into you. But either way, they can attach it, or once you receive it from them, then you can attach it directly to this record and it becomes a permanent record on file. Your birth death linkage does just that. It pulls up the current case and it tells you it has not been linked. If there happened to have been a birth in your system, you would be able to link that to the birth. The comments allows you to leave any type of special comments. You simply would click on new comment, select the comment type, enter a comment, and click save. It will show that comment in a grid, It will also give you the availability to edit it or delete it. It will also allow you to add a new comment. When you close, after adding a comment, it will put a check mark next to the comment page. It also gives you that icon that I had described to you in the beginning on the search page that tells you that there's a comment on that record. Correspondence is where you can upload or develop any type of form letters that maybe you use within your departments. And we've got a few samples that have just been entered in here for testing. The event and issuance history link is only available to the local health departments and to the Indiana Department of Health. And basically what that is the history of everything that has happened within that record. So from the very moment it started to the very end, to any issuances, to any views, it's going to give you the complete tracking of that record. So you can go into this and you can click on detail, and it's going to tell you there's a view detail. So it gives you an itemized list of all the steps that have been taken on the record. Geocodes, you're not going to be doing anything with those, but that basically displays the special codes behind the scenes that are affiliated with some of the fields within the record. The decedent's MRE, or multiple race and ethnicity codes, it's the same type of thing. You won't be doing anything with that, but you'll be able to view those. The information that shows under the ancestry and the race and the Hispanic area is pulled from the information that is entered on the pages that apply. Nosology will not be there to be viewed. Your print forms is where you're going to go in and you're going to see the forms that are available. Now you will see a burial transit permit form there. The burial transit permits are remaining paper-based, just as they always have been. But there is an actual paper copy in here that can be printed off and used as a working copy. And you'll see there that it's a general working copy. You also have your certified copy of your death record, the abstract, the provisional notification of death, and you do have a death certified copy without cause of death. And we'll have one without the Social Security number. Refer to coroner is what would be selected if a case obviously needs to be referred to the coroner. That could be done while the record is being registered by the funeral director or even by the medical certifier. If it goes to a doctor and he feels that a coroner needs to look at it, they would be able to select that link. And it also can be referred to a coroner after it's been registered, if it's deemed that it's possibly a coroner case. By clicking Refer to Coroner, you'll see where a county can be selected, the office of that coroner, and the coroner's name. And then it does allow a box for a message. This is a pre-populated message, but it is able to be customized. So you could erase it, you could add to it, whatever the message may be. You have Validate Registration. What that does is similar to what the Validate Page button does on each page. However, when you do the Validate Page, it will only preview down below the error result that happened on that particular page. What Validate Registration does is it displays all of the validation edit rule failures all on one screen, all on one page. And the switch user may only be used for a few people, but that basically is if you have a person that is able to enter all the information of a record, but maybe doesn't have the authorization to either certify it or to sign off on it, such as your funeral homes. They may have a clerk or a secretary or somebody that goes and enters all the information, but the funeral director himself needs to be the one to sign off on it. They could currently be in the record, and they can click switch user, and the funeral director can right then and there log in, do his signature portion of it, and then get that record pushed through the process. So that explains the death side of things. We're going to move over to the birth module of the drive system, and I'm going to be demonstrating on how to enter a home birth from start to finish once I explain a few things. All births that occur at a hospital or a birthing facility to parents who are married, or for those born to an unwed mother and will not be executing a paternity affidavit, will automatically register. So the local health department will not need to do any approval or affirmation process on those records. For the births that occur to unwed parents, and the paternity affidavit will be executed at the hospital, the local health department will need to go through that approval and affirmation process, much like I described when I was demonstrating it with the death module. You'll click on the cues and you'll select registration work cue summary, and you'll see, let's go to the birth, and you'll see these cues here in relation to the birth. So you've got your PA cue and you have your affirmation required cue. What will happen in these cases is when a hospital does a paternity affidavit, they are going to print it off, get all the necessary information. They're going to upload it. They're going to scan it and upload it into their computer system. They're going to attach it to the record. You're going to look at that record. You're going to look at that attachment, and you're going to do your approval process on that. When you are doing a home birth, you will be doing the local health department PA separately as an amendment. So I will show you how that works here shortly once we get into the process of the home birth. Being able to review the paternity affidavit from the hospitals prior to waiting for the hard copy to be mailed to you enables the hospital to be able to fix any errors that they may have made within the 72-hour time frame that they are allowed to do so. So when you reject that email notification plus a message within Drive will go to that user at the hospital. They'll be able to go in, correct what needs to be corrected, get the new PA printed off, get the signatures from the parents, and get it reattached to the record so that you can review that and approve the record. So it just eliminates the processing time of it, and it also reduces the inconvenience and the costs that the parents would incur in having to come over to the local health departments and have a new one created. So when you go into your approval process, you're going to go into your cues and your work cue summary. You're going to see the registration approval required, PA. You're going to click on that. And you're going to see several in here that are needing to be approved. You'll click on the record, and you're going to see the status across the top that reads the legal, medical, or valid. It's certified, but it's not registered because it's needing the registration approval required for the PA, and it's needing the local registrar affirmation required. And then you'll also show the PA pending in red. So the status is very similar between the birth and the death, although you'll have that little addition of PA. So when you go into your queue, you pull up your record, you see this one has a PA pending. So you're going to scroll down and you're going to look at the attachment. And you'll see that there is a paternity affidavit that needs to be viewed. So you'll open it up. And you'll see well, this is a local paternity affidavit. I guess we did one on a local. Actually, what I have done is I selected the wrong one because I did an amendment already on this one. So let's view this PA. And it shows the hospital paternity affidavit. So you're going to see that the father's name's been added. Here's the child's name as it was before. You've got your father information in the fields that are required, and the mother, and then the child's name as it will be. So you're going to review this PA and make sure that everything's filled out correctly, make sure that there's signatures, and in this case, this was just a test one, so we didn't go through the entire process of signing it. But you will have the hospital paternity affidavit with the signatures, with all the information filled out correctly, and your notarization information done. And once that's reviewed, if it looks okay to you, you're going to see down here registration approval. You're going to click on the registration approval button. And if you did see something that didn't look right, or you were missing a signature, or the notary dates were wrong, you would have the availability to reject it from here. It does populate a standard reason that you can customize. You can approve part of it and reject another part of it, as it shows here, because you're actually you're accepting or rejecting the entire record. And what that's going to do, like I said, is it's going to send the hospital user a notification saying, hey, the signature wasn't on there. So then that hospital user is going to get the parents to sign a new PA and reattach it and send it over to the local health department, which it will then show up in your queue. In this case, we're going to go ahead and approve everything. So we're going to say we reviewed the hospital PA. Everything looks good. All the signatures are there and the dates are correct. So we're approving everything, and we're going to click Save. Now, once again, watch your status bar up here. You've got registration approval required PA, and you've got local registrar affirmation required. We're going to click Save. You'll get the OK that it's been saved. Now you'll see that that approval status is gone, but we still have the local registrar affirmation as required. Go over to the left. You're going to see your local registration affirm button. You're going to click on that, and you get your affirmation statement. Check the box in front of the affirmation statement and click Affirm. It says authentication successful, and if you notice now, we've got our case ID and our state file number, the child's name and date of event. Everything's valid. It's certified. It's registered. The vault copy not printed, which is your certificate of live birth. And now the PA pending changes to just PA. All your indicators over here are checkmark green. Everything looks good. You can go to your identifier page and see your information is in there. I'm going to show you how an amendment is done to a birth record. I'm going to search a date range. And I'm going to look for a registered record. So we've got a state file number, which means this record has been registered. Even though it has a paternity affidavit on it, I'm going to show you how an amendment gets done. You're going to click Amendment. The amendment page pulls up. You're going to select from the drop-down under the type and select what type of amendment you're going to make. We're going to just do an administrative error. If you notice, The paternity affidavits are in here as well. That is how you're going to be doing the paternity affidavit, is by amendment. So I'll display that when we walk through the home birth. So in this case, we're going to do an administrative error, and we're going to click Save. Pulls up the Page to Amend button. You click on that, and you choose the page on where the amendment needs to be made. So we'll pick Mother. And if you notice, when you choose that page, it displays that page below. You simply would have to go in and fill in what fields are necessary. We're going to give Mom a middle name that was accidentally left off. And we're going to click Save. You'll notice it puts it in a grid, and we changed it in both the current and before first marriage name sections. So it shows there wasn't a name there before. This is how we want it to be. You have the opportunity to edit or delete it. From here, you're just going to click Approve Amendment. You'll see you have a button here to revert amendment. If you had made an error and didn't realize it until after you approved the amendment, you can click Revert Amendment and it would change it back. From here, we can go to the Mother Parent page, and you can see where the amendment has been made, where it's put the middle name in both of those fields. So I'm going to now walk you through completing a home birth from start to finish. I may go a little quick through this, just for the fact that you will be working off of a Certificate of Live Birth worksheet as normal, although that worksheet has been reformatted to streamline to the Drive layout. So from the home page, you can either go to the home page, or if you're within a record, you can go right to Life Events, to Birth, and to Start Edit New Case. And you'll notice that if the page comes up, it looks exactly like the Locate Case page that we had. Only in this case, you've got a few fields that are outlined in red and have red arrow indicators. That means that that information is required to be filled in before you can continue on with your record. So we're going to put in a last name. Now remember, you are doing this for an unwed mother who is going to be doing a paternity affidavit. So in this case, that last name of the child must be that of the mother's name at the time of birth. So whatever the mother's legal name is at the time of the child's birth is the name that that child must have. If you were going to be doing a home birth for a couple that was married, you would put in whatever name that they desired to be on that record. So in this case, we're going to put the child's last name is that of the legal last name of the mother. I'm going to F12 to put in today's date. And if I just type M, it'll automatically pull up the male. If I type F, it pulls up female. Or you can click your drop-downs and select from your drop-downs. So that same type of thing works out the whole record when you have drop-downs. If you type a letter, it will pull up some options, or you can simply click on the drop-downs. You can go ahead and fill out additional information on this page if you'd like, but the only information that's required is these first three. When you click search, what that's doing is a duplicate record search. And if it finds a duplicate record, it's going to display it, and you'll be able to preview it to see if that in fact is the same record that you're trying to enter. If it's not, you will get this page, which shows that there are no cases that match the criteria that you've entered. And it gives you the selection that you can either start new case or you can do a new search. If you click the new search button, it just takes you back to the search screen. However, it does retain the information that you have left in here. So if you needed to search you had a different name on there, then you can go ahead and fix it. So if you accidentally put in the father's name, you can go back, you can fix it and do a search, and it will search that database again to make sure there's not a duplicate record. So I'm going to click search, and I'm going to click start new case. So here's what the record comes up as. And as you see, when you first start a record, you've got the case ID. I didn't put in a first name, so I only have the last name. And I've got the date of birth. The status starts out as new event, which applies to the parent or the child mother information and the medical information. And then you have that it's not registered. Also notice that there's no parent page or no father parent pages that are listed here. Those will not display until you choose the marital status. So if you are doing a record for a married couple, once you get to marital status and choose that the mother is married, then it will open up the father pages, and it actually takes you right to the father pages when you're in that part of the record. But since we're doing this for a home birth to an unwed mother, we will not see those father pages. So from here, you will start entering your information off of your worksheet. But in order to show you how the validation edit rule failure checks work, I'm going to purposely leave off the first name. You can tab or you can take your mouse and click directly into the field that you need to go to. In this case, I'm tabbing. I'm going to put a time of birth. And I'm going to leave off the Social Security question. And from here, I'm going to validate the page. And here's what I described happens when you do the validate page. First, your status changes. So instead of new event, now we have legal invalid, medical invalid, and a variety of other things to the side. Also to the side of all the pages in the record, you have the red X, which means there's been hard edit rule failures on every single one of those pages, which obviously there's going to be on all of them because I haven't put any information in. On this particular page, we have an hard edit rule failure, and we have a soft edit rule failure. The soft edit rule failures are in yellow, and the hard are in red. So we have our status change here, we have our indicators here, and we have our highlighted colors here that indicate the field that needs corrected. When you scroll down, if you notice, it displays the error messages down below. So the first one saying that the child's first name cannot be left blank. However, when you go over to the side, you're going to see under the override column that there's a box that you can put a check mark in. If you check that box and save overrides, you are able to complete this record and even register it without having a first name. However, this legal invalid will change to legal invalid with exceptions. You can also fix the field, and you can do that in a variety of ways. You can simply take your cursor, click the field, type in the information that needs to be put in there. Or you can click the Fix button that's under Go To field, and I'm going to move my cursor over to the other middle name field. And if I select the Fix button under Go To field, it takes my cursor directly to the field that needs fixed. Or you can click the Fix under Pop-up, and it pops up a window. And you can just type the name in, click Save. And you'll notice your screen refreshes and it types in the name. Now we're down to the red highlighted hard edit rule failure. You'll notice down here the error message says invalid value for Social Security number requested for child. It does not give you the option to override it, so you must fix that field. And once again, you can do it one of three ways: by selecting the field directly or using these two Fix buttons under the Go To field in the pop-up columns. So I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to select it. And from here, I'm going to validate the page again. Now you'll notice once you revalidate the page, the highlights go away, the indicator changed to green, and you don't have any edit rule failures displayed below. So now that we have a green check mark, we know that this page has passed the validation checks and we're ready to move on. So we're going to click Next. Now we're at the mother parent page. We're going to type in all the information that we need to type in. I've typed in mom's name. If you notice, we have a copy current legal name. You click that button and it will drop that information down below into what her name was prior to her first marriage. We'll give her a date of birth and I'll tab. You'll notice it reformatted it. This arrow here will calculate the mother's age. So it shows her at 33 years old. Social Security number, if you don't have one, if you click none, it puts all zeros. If you click unknown, it puts all nines. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just give her a Social Security number. And we're ready for our mother-parent birthplace. Now you can do this a couple of different ways. You're going to see this icon periodically through the record. And by selecting that, it brings up a pop-up to where you can select places of birth. So you'll see United States is already populated, but it is able to be changed. So we're going to click the state of Indiana, and you'll notice then it's ready for you to search for the county. We're in Adams County doing a home birth. Although in this we're doing the mother's place of birth, so it really doesn't matter where she's from. So I've selected her place of birth as being in Adams County. And I click select and you'll see that it puts it in the fields below. So you can either use that feature or you can start typing in the name of the city, and as you do, you're going to see a list of values that will drop down below for you to be able to choose from. You can either drop down and select it from that, or you can just finish typing out the whole word and tab out of it, and it will accept it, and the drop-down list will disappear. So I've completed this page. I can go ahead and validate page again, or I can just go ahead and click Next, which is what I'm going to do in this case. So what it's going to do is save this page and advance me to the next page, and it's not going to do another validated an edit validation run. So it's still going to show all this X as a hard edit rule failure, even though we have information filled in. That will not change until I revalidate the page. So let's click Next. And we're under the mother-parent address. So you enter her address. Now, you can search that using that house icon. And in this case, I picked the wrong city or the wrong zip code. But you can see if you put a zip code in there and tab out, it will insert the city, county, or state information for you. So we're going to go back in here. Once again, you're going to have all this on your Certificate of Live Birth worksheet, so chances are you're not even going to have to use this drop-down. You'll just type it in from the information that you're given on your worksheet. So you would type in the zip code and hit tab, and it should populate the information to the right that matches your worksheet. Inside city limits, you'll answer that question. Here we go again, the mailing address. You've got a box that you can indicate it's the same as the residence address. By clicking that box, it will drop all that information down below. Your telephone numbers are not required, so you can go ahead and enter them if you have them, but if you don't put them in there, it will let you complete and register the record, and it will not fire off a hard edit rule failure. So we're going to click Next. We're on the mother-parent attributes. You can select all that apply. If you select something that says other, it will open up some other drop-down boxes for you to specify. I'm just selecting one thing in each one to make this demonstration a little bit quicker. I'm going to select next under the Mother Health, so you'll enter the information off of your worksheet. When you get to the tobacco question, if you answer this yes, all of the boxes below will open up for you to be able to enter the information from your worksheet. So you could select the number and this, whether it's cigarettes or packs. If you select no, well, my mouse isn't working with me. If you select no, it grays all that out. And if you notice, you have some additional questions down here. These are new to the worksheet. However, they're questions that statistically are needing to be captured. So if they're answered, please answer them. However, if they are not answered, it will let you continue on to register the record, and it will not fire off any edit rule failures for you. So we're going to leave them blank just for now. We're going to click next. Now we're at our marital status page. So if you notice, under here, under the paternity information, we have the acknowledgement of paternity being completed marked non-applicable. This mother is unwed, so she's never married. And no to the biological father. Once we selected that, it's asking, are you going to do a paternity affidavit? Now, when the hospitals are doing these, they answer that yes, because the hospitals are able to go ahead and do the paternity affidavit right along with the registration of the record. In the local health department case, you must answer this no. So even though you know technically a paternity affidavit is going to be completed, at the time you're registering it, you have to answer it no, because it's going to be done as a separate transaction. So from here, I'm going to validate the page. And you'll see over here that we're going to have some indicators that change. We also do get a notification. Child's last name must be the same as the mother's current legal last name if no second parent is added to the record. This is just an informational to make sure that your names are going to match. So we're going to click next. Now the informant, as you see on the drop down, could be the mother, father, or somebody else. So in many cases, home births, you're going to have different people as being present, but as an informant, you can select either the mother, father, or other. When you select mother, it automatically pulls that information from the mother parent page and puts it underneath. So you just keep hitting next. Now, place of birth. This was a home birth. So we've got home delivery planned. You also have some other selections, home delivery unplanned, home delivery unknown if planned. So in this case, we're going to say the home delivery was planned. Once you select that, it automatically pulls the address from the mother's residence address. So you won't have to enter all that information in. We'll click next. Prenatal information. You'll give it a medical record number. Choose the type of payment. And like I said, you're just going to follow your worksheet and fill in the information that needs filled in. If it gives you opportunity to check a box, it's going to bypass the information that you normally would have to put in there. So in this case, we're going to say this person did have prenatal visits. And you just go through and you answer the questions as it's indicated. And you'll notice when other questions don't apply, depending on how you answer one other question, they'll either gray out or they'll stay open. Pregnancy factors. When we get down to the infections tested, if you answer yes, You'll have to state when it was done, whether it was during pregnancy or time of delivery, so that'll be indicated on your worksheet. And you'll have to fill in the date that it was done. If you answer no, you are required to give a reason why. We'll just say the status is known. And this is a new question on whether the mother was tested for group B strep. Here's our infections and our obstetric procedures. Once again, you can select all that apply. We're going to click next. You notice over here to the side on the page links, as we're clicking next, it's highlighting each page that you're on. So you'll see that we're now on the labor page, and that's what's showing highlighted. We're going to click the labor information, or delivery information, click next. Here's your newborn information, and it will accept letters. Your infant birth weight in pounds and ounces or in grams. You have to do one or the other. If you're going to enter pounds and ounces, you cannot put the grams. If you try to do that, it automatically wipes out your pounds and ounces. We're going to go back in and put them as pounds and ounces. Your APGAR score. Your plurality, here's where you're going to select whether they were multiple births. And if it was a multiple birth, then you will have additional fields to answer. The type of prophylaxis used in the eyes. Is the infant living at the time of report? It is possible that a child is born alive but passes away by the time the report is done. So pay attention to that question. So we'll answer the questions and click next. You're down to your newborn factors. And I do know that on the newborn factors, there have been several that have been added, especially under the congenital anomalies. So you'll see quite a few extra on the new worksheet. So once again, you're just going to be filling this form out, or filling this record out by the information that's given on the birth worksheet. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Validate Page because we're almost to the end of the record on what we need to do. So if you notice, we have all of our green check marks except for the attendant certifier because we haven't done that part yet. And our status is shown it's legally valid. Medical is invalid. That's because this piece is not done yet. It's still not registered, and it's in medical pending. So if you were to look at your medical pending queue under your registration work queue summaries, you're going to see that, see this record. So you've completed all the information. We're ready to put the attendant and the certifier information in there. So once again, you have this lookup field. If you click on that, you get a lookup attendant. You can type in the last name and click search, and it'll pull up that person's name to where you can just select it and it will put it in the fields. We have what's called a wildcard that you can also use. And by putting in a % and clicking search, it's going to search the entire database of all the attendants to where you can find the one that you'd like and select it from there. You can also use that % by putting in just a few letters and then the % afterwards. And it's going to display all the attendants whose last name begins with those 3 letters and anything else that may follow. You can also use that % in front of the letters, or you can use them as what's called bookends. So it would look for something before the FIF, and it will look for something after the FIF, and if it finds something, it will display it in the search. Okay. I'm going to cancel this because I know the attendant has been listed on the birth worksheet, and it just so happens to be the father. We're going to say father's name is Joseph Patterson. You go to the attendant's title, you can select other and put he's the father. We'll put in his address. You'll see when I enter in a zip code, it automatically will select Indiana and give you the choices of cities that correspond with that zip code. And now we're at the certifier. As a local health department registrar, you're going to be the certifier, so your name would show up in this lookup tool. I'm going to type in my certifier information for the testing environment. I'm going to select, and you'll see that it puts all my information in here. Now you do see these validation results down here because that stays there until we revalidate the page. So when we first got to this page, all of these were edit rule failures, and that's why it shows all those below. Now that we're fixing them, we've gone ahead and put in our father as the attendant. We've got our certifier. You're going to put in the date you're certifying it. So I'm going to put in today's date, and I'm going to click Validate Page. Now you'll see we have all green check marks, so it's passed all the validation. Legal valid, medical valid, it's registered, and the vault copy not printed. The vault copy is your certificate of live birth. So if you go over to your print forms and you go to vault copy, and you open up the PDF, you'll see the certificate of live birth sheet that you can print off and keep for your copy in your files. So this record is now registered. If you happen to be entering the home birth and the parents are right there wanting to do their paternity affidavit, you can go right ahead from here to do your amendment. Or if it happens to be several days later, you're obviously going to go into your life events and your birth, and you're going to search or locate that case in order to be able to pull it up to do your amendment, to do your paternity affidavit. So since we're already in the record, we're going to go to Amendments. And we're going to select Local Paternity. You can put a description here, but it's obvious what we're going to be doing, so it's not required. We're going to click Save. And you'll see that the record information that needs to be filled out is going to be down below. You will have a little preview of the current case that you're looking at. And all you do is you go down and you change the child's last name if they desire it to be changed. You're going to add the father. And all of the information that goes along with that father. You'll notice when you look up the father, you do have to select the country. We have the father, parent, birthplace. The education, his Hispanic origin, and the race. And then now you'll notice underneath here under the marital status, you'll see the paternity information on whether the acknowledgement of paternity or paternity affidavit needs to be completed. This is where you will answer yes. You will click Save. As you can see, it displays in a grid on what was done to the record with this amendment. So we've got all of the fields that have been changed. It shows how it appeared before, how it should be, and it gives you the option to delete it. You simply scroll down and click Approve Amendment. Now, if you notice, the PA pending got changed to just PA. Go to your print form, select your paternity affidavit, less than 60 days old, or whatever would apply. We're going to open it. You'll be able to see all the information that's been changed and added to it. So you'll print that off, you'll have the parents sign it, and you'll notarize it, and then you're going to scan it and you're going to upload it. So in this case, I'm going to pretend that that's already been done. I'm going to just save it to my desktop. So parents have signed it, I've scanned it, and I've uploaded it to my desktop. So now I'm going to attach it to the record. So I'm going to Attachments, select New Attachment. It's Documentary Evidence. I'll click Browse and go to my desktop. Find the PA. And you'll see that it's attached it. Click Save. You'll see it in the grid. You'll be able to view it if you'd like. Also, you can attach any new attachments at this time if you'd like. Or you could simply close. You'll see the page refresh. And you will see the check mark by the attachments. So that is how you do a paternity affidavit, and that's also how you do any other amendment that you would need done to that record. So if you have a legal name change or you have a court order determining parentage, You would go through that same process and just select the type that applies and go through the same steps. So now I'm going to show you how to set up a bulk print job. For those, you're going to go into your Administration tab, if it's available to you, to your jobs, and to your job scheduler. Under Select Process Type, you're going to select System. Click Next. Under Select System Process, you're going to choose what it is that you're trying to do. This is also where you would do your extracts, as well as some of these others that are listed here. In this case, we're going to set up a job to print birth notifications. And I'm going to click Next. You'll see you enter your process parameters. So it's for the Adams County Health Department, as that's who I'm affiliated with. Starting date. And an ending date. I'll hit F12 for today. And I'll click Next. You can run it once. And you can start it on a certain day and time. You can schedule it for regular intervals. So you could do it daily, hourly, monthly, etc. Or you can even set it to schedule on specific days of the month. So in this case, I'm only going to run it once, and I'm going to run it now so that I can show you what it does. We're going to click Next. On this page, you can select a recipient that will receive an email notification that states that there's something waiting to be printed, that there's a job out there. So I'll select a name and click an arrow to move that name over to that box and click Next. So that person's going to get a notification that there's a print job in there. The last page is to review and submit it. And you click Finish. So you go back into your administration and under Jobs and look under your Job Scheduler log. You need to click the Completed box, and it will show you all the jobs that are in there. You would click on the ID number, and if you notice, it prints up or pulls up the job scheduled, and it gives you a hyperlink here that you can select that takes you to that job. It generates a PDF. And you can see that it prints up a job. Now in this case, it's only got one in there, but if you had multiple records, it would print all of the records, display all of the records needing printed. I'll show you a prior log. You'll notice in this job, you've got multiple records there. that have generated a report. So that's how you schedule your bulk print jobs. Now the last thing I want to demonstrate to you is how you're going to be able to look up the records in the other counties. I do need to log in differently, as my test user I was using is not set up to do that. So from your menu selections, you're going to go to Order Processing and click New. You'll notice the first page that comes up is your applicant. So you've got somebody that comes to your counter and they say, I need the death certificate of my brother and I know he died in this county. You look them up and you can't find him. So you've got your applicant information. We take his government issued ID, so his driver's license. If he doesn't have a driver's license, you select the 2 secondary types. And you're going to enter his name. I'm just going to give it a name as a testing name. You can fill out all the other information if it's deemed necessary for your operations, but it's not required to be able to do the search. From here, you're going to click Next. Now this brings you to the Match Events page. So what you're doing is you're trying to match whatever the event is that he's looking for. So he wants a death certificate, and he's the brother. And it takes you down to the next section, which is your event search area. If you notice, you've got several fields that you can search on. However, if the search is to be conducted and you want it to search for whatever information you put in these fields, you need to ensure that the box next to it has a check mark in it. If it doesn't have a check mark in it, it is not going to look at all at that field. You can, however, have a check mark in that box and nothing in the field, and that's okay. It's just going to do a search for an empty value. In this case, I'm going to put in the word Smith. Now, normally you wouldn't use Smith and just use that alone and not refine it even further, or you're going to get a vast search that's going to crash your system and time you out. So in this case, I'm going to put in a date range. If you notice, we've got date of death, a start and ending date. So I'm going to start the search January 1st of 2008, and then I'm going to check the box next to the ending date, and I'm going to put June 30th of 2008. So that's a smaller amount of time to do a search on the last name of Smith. I can go ahead and fill in some other items if I knew what they were. If the customer gives you that information, it'll make the search a little quicker for you, but you don't necessarily have to have it to conduct the search. Once again, you'll see the search or the Soundex. So if you would select Soundex, it's going to pull up every name that sounds like the word Smith. But in this case, we're going to just search. And you'll see up above, it's asking what the search request was, who it was requested from, and the fields that it was searched on. And when you scroll down, you're going to see your results. So you'll see several different dates in 2008, the state file number, the registrant's name, and the place of event. So here's where you're going to see your county information. Now looking at this, say he was searching for his brother Andrew Smith, but he couldn't remember what Andrew's middle name was. And he wasn't exactly sure when in 2008 he died, but he was pretty sure it was in February. So we've got 4 different Andrew Smiths that died in February. Actually, we have 1 in March, 3 in February, 1 in March. But we have 3 different counties that could apply to. If you notice below, you've got the record that has the preview button indicated displayed below. So all you would need to do is go to the first Andrew Smith You can either click this box and then hit preview, or just click the preview box, and it pulls up his information down below. So you can check all of those till you find the one you want. And if you find who they're looking for, then you'll be able to say, this is the county you need to go to. Once again, from this page, you're only able to search. You're not able to access the record, but you will at least be able to help your customers out in directing them to the right county to get the record that they're looking for. So this concludes the training for the LHDs of the Drive system. Please refer to the user guides as needed, and for any questions that you may have or any concerns that you have, you can submit an email to drive@isdh.in.gov. Once again, that's drive@isdh.in.gov. Thank you very much.